channel live sessions, Valentine Live. I am Valentine Jiroge. I am in Nairobi, and we're having a conversation tonight about African culture and whether or not we're losing it, or how we're merging it as modern Africans. And we've been joined. This is actually our most international conversation to date. We've got Lexy Boahene. Please tell me I said your name right.
Yes, you did, Valentine.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Who is in Accra, and then we've got Didier Bayeye. I've said that right.
That's right. Perfect.
Who's a tourism expert and who is in Johannesburg. So we're in Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa as we speak, which is fantastic. Look at modern technology. So Didier, I'll say a little bit about you, and then you can jump in with and feel free to introduce yourself even more. And Lexy, same thing.
Sure.
So Didier is an African tourism expert with distinguished professional experience in tourism and hospitality consultancy. And you've worked with, places from conservancies to also developing tourism across the continent, in the DRC and in Uganda. So you've experienced a lot of African culture, and you're kind of in the business of showcasing African culture, right? Didier?
Yep.
Okay. What else do you do?
All right. First of all, let me start by thanking you for such great initiative, great topic, great opportunity. And that's why I said to you, one of the unspoken, untouched topic. My name is Didier Bayeye. I'm live of Johannesburg in South Africa. By profession, I'm an African tourism expert in the field of tourism marketing, promotion, and tourism development. But of course, as you will see, it starts with Africa. That's where my soul is. That's where I do my research and studies. That's where everything lies. And beside the field of tourism, even though we know that with tourism, there's no way you will talk tourism or do tourism without culture. They interlink, and then culture is just part of it. I had to study and research on some of the African culture, and also do the African philosophy. Yeah, and as a Pan-Africanist, I focus more on in making Africa a better place for Africans. So yeah, that's what I can say for now. I'm involved a lot in a different platform and groups that lobby for Africa Open Sky, free trade, freedom of movement amongst Africans within the African continents. And then, yeah, like I said, just making Africa a better place. That's me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you so much. And Lexy, so I'll say something. I'll give a little bit of history about how I met you and why I thought you'd be great for this conversation. So Lexy was invited by the BBC to Nairobi to have a conversation about single motherhood. And so we were both on this show for the BBC called The She Word. And then we started talking about our cultures, and then you let me know that you're one of the ambassadors for, is it Coming Home? No. Return.
Year of Return.
The Year of the Return. Yeah. Which, I mean, we even saw Beyonce and all these kinds of people. Your president was so involved, and I thought, and we were all kind of jealous. I will say I was jealous. And actually, some friends and I were like, we have to go to Ghana.
Right.
And when COVID happened, I think I told you, I was like, I think I'm coming to Ghana. And then COVID happened, so here we are. So, what was that like, actually, being... No, before I ask you the question, tell us a bit more about being an ambassador for the Year of the Return.
Okay, so I was an ambassador in my own right. So I have an annual event called the Diaspora Drive, and it's trying to engage more people to come back home, to either invest, live, or work. And we provide like a soft landing and support them through this process. specifically with the year of return, I was part of the committee that supported the president's initial diaspora homecoming summit. And it was an opportunity to really engage with people that lived abroad, that are looking for opportunities to come back home, whether it's for short-term, medium, or long-term. And I guess, as part of the national agenda was to try and encourage more people to come and invest, so to help boost our economic growth. And then we saw that in so many ways. And last year, obviously, because of COVID, we had to be on the return. However, it wasn't, as expected, because of COVID. But, still, as part of the Boahene on the return, so many people came through. We have artisans, vendors, service providers, food service providers that were all, complaining about, the boost in their sales and during those periods of time. So, yeah, I mean, it was fun to be a part of, the group was part of putting together the Diaspora Drive, the Diaspora Homecoming.
Okay.
And yeah, it was interesting.
Okay. I find it interesting, and maybe Didier, you can jump in here, that our big tourism draw as African countries is our culture. But more and more modern Africans are letting go of our culture, even as basic as language. Like, I'm teaching my son my language, which is Kikuyu, and frequently when people hear him speak, they comment like, oh, why? What's that for? What's that about? And I've been called tribalist and all kinds of things. And I'm not like, and this is a problem, I think, across Africa. So it's like we want people to come visit us and see our culture, but we're like letting go of it, like it doesn't matter. What's your take on that? Having worked in many African countries, what's your take on that?
Very, very good and interesting point you've raised, Valentine. First of all, I'd like to tell us and all the listeners throughout the continents and even in diaspora, the African language, our native languages, do not oppose the developments.
Right.
They do not conflict with the technology. That's very, very important. And it's one of the misconstrued ideas. This generation, not only the millennials, even older generation that tend to have the trend that our native languages cannot sustain or compete against the current world of technology, business, and all that. That is why I have to start by saying that, first of all, they do not conflict our local languages. Secondly, as Africans, there is something we maybe don't pay attention to. As Africans, we are very, very, very gifted. Okay? Africa is the only continent where you will see at least each individual can speak minimum 3 languages.
Right.
That is Africa. Outside Africa, we go to other part of the world where you can see a very grown person who can hardly speak 2 languages. It is the one language they speak from birth until they are old. Why am I raising this point? This is to say that it is okay to keep our culture and tradition and still embrace the speed of the current world. Okay, we can speak, like you say, your child can speak Kikuyu at home or with other family members and still speak English in school. So the fact that he speaks Kikuyu at home doesn't make him less to learn in English. The fact that I speak my mother tongue at home doesn't make me less when I step into the business world to speak that French, to speak that Portuguese, to speak that French with my counterpart that cannot speak my native language or my local language. So By being aware of such, we will be able to preserve language. Culture is part of us. It's part of who we are. We can try to, I'll just open a bracket here. Maybe you've had such discussion like, but why African doing this, embracing Western culture? Why do they want to look like white, putting long brown hair to look like? I said, that's not still to change a person's identity or origin. You can still have those long brown, pink, purple, which color of hair, but rocking your mother tongue in it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that doesn't change your identity. So we just need to, first of all, get to the point to realize that who we are, first of all, is not opposing or conflicting the current development in the whole world or in the society. I don't want to go, maybe you will come up with a relevant question, but let me just quote one example. We have seen in Asia, for example, we have countries that's so much into their local languages. All right, they don't even speak what is known as international language, yet much more developed. So that is just to say that it is okay. We need to embrace our culture, our languages, because that is actually the stem and the originality of who we are as people, as Africans.
Okay, thank you, Didier. Thank you. Lexy,
yes, you're
a modern African who's grown up like in Ghana, also in the UK. You lived in London for a chunk of your life. Have you maintained your African language?
So interestingly enough, I was actually born and raised in the UK. And growing up, that's all we spoke. So we spoke our native language, Tree. So if you go in most places in Ghana, people speak Tree. And for me, and I think in your question earlier, you added, do you think it should be mandatory in schools? And I think, yes, it should be. Like, there's nothing more dehumanizing to say, don't speak your language, or it sounds wrong, or it sounds off-key, because at the end of the day, like he rightly said, that's our culture, that's who we are. And it's interesting because I can speak the language fluently, even though I wasn't necessarily raised here, right? But and so can my daughter, who has also spent some time in Ghana. And I think it's important.
That is such a commitment, Lexy. I mean, even in Nairobi, I find so many children who don't speak their languages. So for you to be outside of Ghana and teaching your daughter, how did you even do that?
We just spoke at home, and she spoke with my grandma, and we would come to Ghana all the time. So she'll speak with other people as well. And as you know, if you speak another language, as long as you use it, you'll be able to maintain it, right? And I think it was so important for me to be able to, like, if you want to gossip, we can switch languages and do exactly that. And there's something special about being able to speak your own native language. So it was very, very important for me.
Okay, nice. Didier, you mentioned something about African philosophy. One of my concerns is that as we lose our languages, or we don't speak them as much, we lose some philosophical concepts that exist in those languages. Is that something we should be concerned about? Is that just me? Maybe I'm, blowing things out of proportion. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. It's something we should be concerned about. Okay, preserving one's heritage. It's the most valuable thing to do in this life on earth. And a language is a heritage that nobody can build, nobody can buy.
I like that. Language is heritage.
Yes, language is a heritage. Our native language, okay, our traditional language. That's a heritage which we inherit. Remember that you are not a good person if you have inherited money or a property from your parents, you don't leave it to your offspring. You are not a good person. No, not at all. Because you have inherited. Okay, they worked hard. They put in some effort. Allow me just to use some analogy to bring everybody to the understanding. So they worked hard. We don't lose this piece of land because we have children and pass it on to you. Now, you also have to work hard not to lose it, to pass it on to your children. It is a heritage, something you inherit. You didn't build, you didn't work for it. You found it there. Okay, so it is the same with language, our native language. We didn't make it. We were born. We found the people around us speaking a certain language, and they tell us this is your language, and we embrace it. We can speak it, we can hear it. So it is an heritage which we also need to pass to the next generation. And we have to make sure we don't kill it. That heritage doesn't stop with us. That is the worst thing that's happening with the current generation. Young fathers, young mummies, they don't care to pass on the heritage. Now,
Didier, you struck a nerve.
I had
Stella Douglas is saying, so if parents don't teach the language, they're not good people. You've struck a nerve with somebody in the audience.
Culturally not. Culturally not. I'm answering to that. Culturally not. Okay. We don't remember, we are not talking of good here in habit or know how the person behave or no. But culturally, they are not good people. Okay, because they're not passing the legacy of the ancestors, of the grandparents into the next generation. They're literally killing it with them. I had Lexy talking about upbringing where she was born.
Wait, let me ask Lexy a question, Didier. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Stella, you got your answer. Lexy, you met, so the year the return saw, and Ghana is making a really huge concerted effort to get not only, Ghanaians in the diaspora, but also to invite other Africans and also African Americans to come into Ghana and also invest. We saw with colonialism, our African traditions were kind of shunned and this isn't great, it has nothing to offer you, so throw that in the toilet and let's take on Western culture, right? Is Ghana now going to make an effort to kind of find some kind of middle ground, or to kind of make sure that you don't lose your Ghanaian culture like chi and other things, as much as you're welcoming more maybe Western informed ideals? Is there a middle ground?
I feel like sorry, if you're done, I can answer that. I feel like, of course, we're always going to be the majority, right? So even if you invite, I don't know, the whole of New York to Ghana, we're not necessarily all going to become New Yorkers, right? So, and I feel like as a culture, we have so much more to give. So yes, we're going to embrace, some of these people outside of the diaspora, but it doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily lose ourselves or lose our culture. We don't necessarily need to invite them for that. We're already losing it through, the use of people going online and being able to listen to rap music and being able to dress like them. And so I think it's more like an individual choice that people make to say, okay, I'm not going to do this because I want to be represented or seen like this, or I want to be transracial, or whatever you want to, title you want to put on it. And it's very much an individual thing. So I don't necessarily see that, welcoming people from, all parts of the world, like Jamaica or America or the UK or Europe, somewhere in Europe, will necessarily conflict with our cultures. But it will only embrace it, really.
Okay. Didier, as somebody who's traveled across Africa, is there a country or a culture, like a group of people that you think are really finding a great middle ground between modernization and keeping up with traditional, because culture is art, it's music, it's language, it's a way of being, like an attitude. You know, we love this about Black people, how we have a little bit of swag and whatever. So is there a culture that you've seen that is doing a particularly great job finding a middle ground?
Yes, there are a few African countries that I can easily mention, and I can see that even when you are there in amongst them, they are not afraid, they are not ashamed, okay. to speak their language. They not worried to wear their outfit. They are in fact, when they see you, the first thing they want you to know is that we belong in this part of the world. This is us as people. And funny enough, these are one of the smallest countries in Africa, for example. I'm not saying it's only these ones. For example, when you go to Lesotho, the first thing you will see somebody coming to welcome you, having a blanket on their shoulders, okay, with a hat that looks like a roof of a hut. And they are not afraid of that. They want you to know who they are as people, and they always introduce themselves. We are the Basotho people. This is how we do it here. This means this, and they do it with pride.
Okay.
Why is Swaziland famous today, even as a tourist destination? Because of the event everybody knows. Okay. Cultural and traditional, where they really push it forward. Beside that festival, when you go to Swaziland, you feel that they don't even speak to themselves as just we are from Swaziland. They say the kingdom of Swaziland. They want to insist on the fact that we have the king. Yeah, and they are proud. Okay, despite the technological developments, not that they don't speak English, of course, they will speak. They know you don't speak their language, but amongst themselves, for example, they will not discuss or speak English. They will speak in their local languages. Such kind of behavior, we only see it left in some deep village in many countries. The big metropolitans in Africa are a problem.
Because we're so mixed, and we have, for example, in Kenya we have 43 different cultures and different languages. So when I sit with my friends and somebody is Luya and another one is Somali and another one is Luo or Kalenjin and I'm Kikuyu, our common language, it could be Swahili, but mostly it tends to be English.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are aware of that. Africa is rich in languages, and remember in the beginning I said that Africa is blessed in a sense that here in South Africa we have people that can speak 11 languages, one individual, okay, because there's 11 local languages. So one person, some are good enough to speak all the 11, some speak 7, some 6, some 8. And we are also aware that we can be from the same country, but different villages or mother tongue. So that doesn't mean this is the reason to kill our languages.
No, we're not saying kill the languages.
Yes. We didn't say that. I know. It's just a way of of putting it. But
let me ask Lexy the same question. Lexy, as you've traveled, even in the UK, is there a country or a culture that you've seen that you would say is handling that middle ground well between modernization and hanging on to our, their tradition? PJ is saying Botswana, people are deeply in love with their culture. Sele is saying Nigerians, boom.
I was gonna say, I mean, especially in the UK, like if you meet a Nigerian, you're gonna know that they're Nigerian. They eat the food.
And Igbo, right? Or
They
the outfit, yeah.
They will be, in flamboyant colors, and they would make some vibrant clothing, and they'll have it on. They'll be speaking their language and loud with it too. Sorry to my Nigerians on on here, but it is what it is. They're proud of where they come from, and even though they've settled elsewhere, it is part of who they are. So they don't shy from it at all.
We see that.
However, there are some young people. Even I know people that were born and raised in Ghana who then travel outside, and then they can't speak a local language, and it's sad. So yeah, there are some people that struggle with it.
Stella is asking if I'm drinking gin. I'm drinking herbal tea. Not gin. That's funny though. Why would I be drinking gin in a mug? Anyway, so I will say this about teaching my son Kikuyu and why it became important to me. And I just thought about it, Lexy, because you said, you go and live in a foreign country and then you come home. So I lived in London for 2 years, and then I lived in the States for 6 years. And during that time, when you leave your culture, you really get to look at it from like a distance. Maybe because I was immersed in another culture, I had a mirror, like, I think this, I behave this way. And I really started to see my culture and the gifts of it, and also its limitations. So when I came home, I was really grateful, first of all, to my family that they taught me Kikuyu. And I thought I definitely want to pass that on. So Didier, I get what you're talking about with heritage. I think maybe that's why that struck a chord with me, is I felt they had given me a gift and I wanted to make sure that I passed it on to my son. Yeah. Have you had that kind of personal experience with your culture where you really got to look at it and be like, okay, as a modern African, maybe I want to keep this, dump this, Didier, let's start with you. Because you're smiling.
All right. Okay. Yes, I will tell you that language, as we speak of also language today, language is past, okay? And the only easy way, beside even the community, before the community or the people around us, it is at home, it is the family, it is the parents. I am born in Kinshasa, in the DRC. But where in Kinshasa is not my parents' hometown. Okay, they from a different place. But how did I get to learn the mother tongue? Mm-hmm. Because they were speaking amongst them, dad and mom, in their mother tongue. Then they will speak to us as well. Even though we were not in the village, they would speak to us in our mother tongue. One doesn't have to be in rural.
What is your mother tongue?
My mother tongue is called Chiluba. You need to locate it on map. It's a tribe located right in the central of the DRC. And then they also referred to as the Jewish of Congo.
Why? So you have the money.
Because
that's what it is. Are you the bankers? You're the money.
Kind of. That's what.
You're the money people. Okay, good to know. Chiluba. That is the tribe.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and yeah. So yes, the Luba. So the Luba speaks Chiluba.
Chiluba is the language.
I was not born there. I've not lived there. I have not. But there is I can't hear. Okay, and if I want to speak, I can speak it. Because then spent some few years there, then moved into a French country. English country. Still very young.
Let me interrupt you. For the audience, if you're wondering where Lexy went, her laptop is about to die. She's getting her charger. She's coming back. She didn't just abandon us. Because now we're looking at her chair and we didn't explain her absence. It's like, where did she go? Where did she go? Sele, you're saying living in South
Yeah.
Africa, you appreciate the Nigerian culture more and more each day. Yeah, I can see that, Sele. Didier, while we're waiting for Lexy to come back, let me ask you, what are some of your favorite things about being African? I think one of them is what you said about how many of us speak many languages. It's not just one language. But what are some other favorite things about African culture, especially?
So many things. There are actually a lot. I would tell you the proceedings. Okay, African culture, it's very, very rich, right?
Right.
When you move from even your culture into the next culture, see, for example, when it comes to marriage and when it's you get to learn, enjoy how at some point the elders speaks in parables and proverbs, and it makes so much sense. And one day I ask, but why is this? They say, they even explained it to me, which was again confirmed in philosophy. There are words that when they are pronounced, let's say they are now discussing about the dowry, both families. Now they reach a point when somebody from the groom's family throws some proverbs. This family cannot reject it because it is so true. They understand the deepest meaning of it from back very, very, very back in time. It's like, if you say this, we understand. So it's being an African is everything I love about the African culture. We are rich in so many things. I was having a live video conference to Belize on Africa Day on the 25th of May. And then I said to them that what makes us to be proud as Africans is the fact that we learn now to appreciate our differences and celebrate our similarities. That makes us proud as Africans. Yes, that those similarities and those differences, it's all part of us as people. Okay, we don't need to speak the same language to be Africans. We don't have to cook the same way. But I appreciate the way ugali is made in Kenya, and when I'm there, I enjoy it. I enjoy pap this side. I enjoy fufu in Ghana. I enjoy panda yam in Nigeria. So it's all part of who we are as Africans. Yeah.
Okay, Lexy, what are some of your favorite things about African culture?
So, I mean, it's so diverse. So that alone in itself carries so much weight because, you know, people come from different walks of life, different parts of Africa. They look different, they sound different. And you get to learn so many different types of things from interacting with everyone, depending whether you're from Ethiopia, Liberia, Ghana, Togo. There's just so much difference. And one thing that I'm really passionate about is food. So everywhere I travel around the continent, I make sure I taste a local dish, whether it's you're eating with your hands or you're eating with a spoon. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And I feel like even in our dishes, it shows so much rich culture and it shows, so much diversity. One thing that I really, really love is how entrepreneurial we are and how entrepreneurial we've become. So during COVID, people came up with, like, you know, the most notorious, innovative ways to either stay clean, be entertained,
right?
Right, and it was so interesting, and it comes purely from us being who we are, you know. Right. So it was just really nice to see, and just the warmth alone that, you know, African people give off. Like, you can go anywhere in the world, you'll meet an African who would, you know, bring you in, welcome you in and, you know, share ideas and talk to you. I suppose if you're sitting on a train to Paris, for example, everyone's just like their heads down, they're quiet, they're frowning, or they're in a rush. You know, so it's entirely different. It's entirely different.
I will say that's something that I actually always took for granted. And then when I first moved out of Kenya, I was like, oh, people are not as quick. I was used to, like, you buy one, say we go out for lunch. Yeah. I'll pay one time, next time you pay, third time Didier pays, like that, yeah. Right? Yeah. And then, so getting to the UK and realizing, oh no, you might pay once, but everything. Like, this thing is not coming back around. Like the whole Dutch thing, I was like, oh, right. Okay, this is. And then how welcoming we are, and how, like, if you invite people for lunch, then you'll have food for everybody.
Yeah.
And allow me jump in then add something else about the African culture. This is quite similar in so many African cultures. Is that African culture, it's based, the fundamental is respect. That I've seen everywhere. Let's forget the people that are being now corrupt with whatever the city they live, how people are doing things. But when you start getting deep to know why things are done the way it is done, why such person has to do this, why this shouldn't, you get to realize that there's so much respect. And disrespect of hierarchy from the younger to the big brother or sister, from the children to the parents, from the uncle. That is why you get the African proverbs, such as it takes the whole community or the whole village to raise a child, because everybody can educate a child, not the world of leave the child do what they want. Okay. When we were growing up, somebody was saying, when you are naughty, you get in trouble with your mother and any other mother.
Any other mother, right?
Yes, and any other mother. You know, so today you will hear things like, this one, that's a parent to deal with. No. Back at the time, another parent who's just going errands or minding his own business and find you, a child, in a compromising situation, can punish you right there and still promise you that I'm going to tell your parents.
I'm going to tell your parents, so you're going to have to do
yes,
this.
It's a culture of respect. This I love about African.
That's generally one of the reasons why I moved. I wanted, like, again, for those that have been to the UK, you could be dying on the side of the sidewalk and people will literally walk past you.
Yep.
And you can be misbehaving and people will just watch you misbehave. And here, like, if you walk into a shop and you don't say good morning as a young adult or a teenager, they'll say, you can't say good morning. Like, you know, they will hold you accountable. And it's purely based on respect and mannerisms and culture and our philosophy.
Yep.
So I think, I couldn't agree more with you. And it's pivotal, really.
And then the African means.
I think even as we lose our language, because, okay, maybe I'm feeling like we're losing our language because I'm in Nairobi and this might not be the truth, you know, across all of Africa. And it might not even be the truth across Kenya. It might just be like a Nairobi thing where we're in an urban setting and therefore, you know, it's like, what's the priority? Speaking your mother tongue. But one of the things I feel we stand to lose if we do lose our languages is, like you're saying, those parables, the proverbs, the way you give an analogy, because I find this to be uniform in a lot of our languages. We don't hit the nail on the head. We don't speak super directly. We kind of speak around an issue, which is in a way allows you space to then be told that actually look at it this way. Maybe you were wrong. I find English a very direct way of speaking, where you say, I believe X and I did that. It's like you make declarations, whereas in a lot of our languages, you kind of speak around an issue. So if you make a mistake, someone can say, oh, consider this parable, and you can easily, without being humiliated, then learn or change your mind. Whereas English doesn't really allow us that. Do you get what I'm getting at? You're both.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand what you're saying. like not straight to the point, in the sense that, you know, someone, you're trying to do a deal with someone, for example, and instead of them saying no, they'll walk around in circles, trying not to hurt your feelings or trying to figure out other ways instead of being direct, right? And it's funny because I don't really feel like it's a language thing. I feel like it's more of a cultural thing. So if you look at, this example is, if you look at Nigerians, like they're really direct, straight to the point. You know, they'll tell you as it is, the same way the Americans do. But if you're, you know, if you're Ghanaian or if you're British, they'll, you know, beat around the bush a bit. So again, it depends solely, it depends more around your culture as well, because there are some cultures that require you to just be upfront with whatever it is that you're dealing with or whoever it is that you're dealing with.
Okay. Didier, what do you think about that? About the parables and the analogies and direct speech?
They're very, very important because they require wisdom. They are actually not called knowledge, but wisdom.
Okay, go
there's
on.
a lot of what again the African proverb says, what an adult can see while sitting, a standing young person can't even see. So
I like that. Yes.
Yeah, and it is true. When you analyze these things, it's more of wisdom. Okay, it's relate. You will hear things that stubborn child didn't want to listen when given advice. They will throw in a proverb. They will go find the trouble and then now need help. They run back to the community or to the parents and they will tell them. That is why they say ears cannot grow taller than the head.
Oh.
And oh yeah.
I like that. Ears cannot grow taller than the head.
No, they don't. You are not a rabbit, so they will not grow taller than the head.
Okay. You're full of these, I see. You're full of these.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an aspect of African culture that you would like to see celebrated more? Because, you know, culture is so broad. It's language, it's fashion, it's, you know, like Lexy, you're saying, like an attitude, a way of expressing yourself. It's art, it's music. It's hair. God, we express ourselves through our hair. Is there an aspect that you're like, I wish we do more there? Lexy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, personally, again, it's the food thing. We have so many rich foods.
I'm just switching off my heater.
Okay, no worries. So many different types of food, from liquid form to foam form, to like different types of cheeses, to different types of vegetables that we don't explore or play around enough, and we're still importing food. You know, and I really wish we can, you know, invest as Africans, invest in our continent, develop manufacturing sites.
I have a guest.
And
say hello. You see, I'm working. Hi.
Hello.
Say hi. Hi. Okay, it's a different one now. You see different people. So now say bye-bye. What did you want? Dinner? We will discuss when I get off my call.
Yes or no?
Not now. Later on, I'll tell you yes or no.
It's my sleeping time.
He wants to know now.
He wants to sleep upstairs. That's where the TV is. Yes, you can sleep upstairs. Bye. It's his half term, so it's like a Friday. He's not in school for 4 days. Oh, okay. Go on. Sorry, Lex.
So I was saying that, as Africans, we need to invest in our manufacturing industry so that we can process some of these things and export it, because currently we're importing so much, and we have so much fresh materials and, you know, fresh organic foods and ingredients that we really need to be creative with when it comes to food. And I would definitely love to see more of that.
I like that. I definitely agree with that. Stella is saying, I'd love to walk into a high-class restaurant in New York and see people ordering pepper soup. We have to say pepper soup, right? It's written pepper, but it has to be pepper soup, right?
Pepper soup.
Yes, Stella, I agree with you. Bernard is saying, what is the one African quality or value that is uniquely us? Oh, but before I get to your question, Bernard, Didier, I'd like to hear from you. What aspect of African culture would you like to see us do more with? I really like the food thing, Lexy.
Oh yeah. If I had a choice, or if I can make it happen, guess what that would be?
What?
The mythical or mythology part of African culture.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It is not celebrated. It's not given as much attention. I was in Nigeria for some conference. Can't remember. Was it last year or the previous year? I traveled there like 3, 4, 5 times a year. I can't remember. So we were talking about this and how to bring up, to boost the African culture and sell. Everybody laughed when I said to them, we need movies, African movies. But
we do.
African movies that will compete, not just what we see, that will compete with this kind of what's this evil child movie? Who has magic?
An evil child with magic. There's so
Harry
many.
Potter. Harry Potter.
Okay.
When
Harry Potter is not an evil child with magic.
When the Western they do this, it's all showing what power. They showing what they believe. Yet we have a lot of mythology in every African region and village or country, whether true or not. This could be, first of all, a very, very attraction to the Western people. I know places where they say here in the olden time, something used to come out and then it does this, it does that. People used to come here because the gods will come and bless people. You know, to build movies around the mythology, African mythology, where people believe that if you walk in the forest on a weekend, something will happen to you. To create an experience that can be seen, watched, read, why not as a movie? And there should be a time where we are celebrating all this as Africans.
Just to support your point, Didier, there is when I was in university and I had some Nigerian friends, I learned about Yoruba mythology and the similarity between like Oshun and Ogun and all those gods and goddesses in relation to Greek mythology, where like Oshun is the equivalent of Aphrodite and Venus. And I found it very interesting. Like Zeus is, is Zeus the head of the Greek mythology, whatever, like he's like the father figure. And Ogun is the same.
The god of sun, yes.
Yes, and so there are all these similarities. And I was like, so I wonder which came before the other. And because we've lost some of our history in terms of documentation, like, whatever was written down was destroyed by colonialists or whatever, we kind of don't know which came first. But when you look at Greek mythology and you listen to like the Yoruba speak about their vision of the world and how they view the world, there's so much similarity.
Right.
So I'm agreeing with you. I would love to see more of that. Because also in seeing our philosophy and understanding where we came from, there's pride, there's dignity, there's...
Oh, definitely. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. There is understanding that it is one of the reasons, despite a lot of innovations in the ancient time from African countries, but lack of putting this innovation out there, it has been attributed to other nations. A lot of, in case of treatments, the herbs and roots that were first discovered and used in Africa has been attributed to them as they make their modern medicine as they discover it, because we have not archived okay, our mythology and how the African ancient were treating people, dealing with diseases. I visited a museum in Luxor in Egypt. Okay,
Didier, finish quickly. You have to give
yes,
Lexy a
I'll
time.
finish quickly. Where they have
Go on.
the ancient medical tools used to amputate. The first place they amputated a leg. Okay, they have it there. And we're talking of some 1,000 years before Christ. And it is there. This is Africa, to show that the developments and so many things that happened in Africa first the glory has been given to other people. Why?
Right.
Because we have not archived our mythology, and then we have not put it out there for people to know this is what was first happening in Africa.
Lexy, jump in, because I
just
want to say something.
No, I just wanted to agree with him, and that we need to take ownership of, our culture, and where we're from, and take pride in it. And when you go online and even talk about the Oshun energy and stuff like that, people see it as, oh my gosh, that's bad, that's voodoo, that's juju, etc., etc. But then are practicing certain things in the European, culture. So it's just a catch-22, and it's mainly about educating our people, and enabling people to take ownership of where they're from and pride in where they come from, really.
Okay. Unfortunately, we only have 8 minutes to go, so I'm going to give Lexy. I'll start with you on this question. Are there trends that you see regarding African identity?
Yeah, so I mean, over the years and in the years to come, there's been a number of things that have helped us in terms of our evolution, right? And one thing that's very striking is the amount of young people that we have on the continent, and the amount of young people that we're going to have on the continent. We'll have about 200 million people between the age of 15 and 24, in the next 30 odd years. And one thing that strikes me and that I'm really passionate about is the political activism that you see coming from young people. Them, going on strike when they need to, they're on the streets when they need to. If you look across even our continent, we have younger presidents. I think the president is like 43. In Liberia, he's like 53. In Gambia, he's 54. Sierra Leone, he's 55. So there's a really, and in Cameroon, even not too long ago, there was an election with, a really young guy who, unfortunately didn't win, but, has a few more years ahead of him. So not too concerned. But it's just that political activism in young people that's really showing, and that's actually making a difference as well. And not just in this generation, but generations to come. So yeah, really excited about that in terms of African trends. The beauty and the health and beauty and wellness space is growing. Like, people didn't think meditation was a thing. They just thought you're praying or fine, or you'll be fine if you pray. But infusing like healthcare, and in that space as well is brilliant, because not only do you have a lot of young women in those industries that are now being able to fend for themselves and not necessarily relying on on men. Because they can do some of these things. It's really good to see. And of course, renewable energy, if you look across, even the sub-Saharan Africa, every other week there's, someone's finding oil or gas.
Yeah, but do you see those? So those are like industrial things. I can see the hair and beauty thing being like an identity thing, where it's like, I'll go natural. I only use, natural oils that I can source locally. Purposing to spend your money, on a small local business instead of importing things. So I see those as, identity meeting economics, right? And how you spend. But when it comes to oil and that kind of thing, do you really see an identity there? I
feel like we're now building towards that, right? So people have gone to school to study engineering or oil and gas and specialize in these areas. And it's only, the past 5-10 years that has really been relevant in this context. So if you think about in terms of trends, if you think about 5-10 years to come, you will see young people coming up with innovative ideas on, you know, how to compile gas, or, you know, how can we utilize it to make a difference in our communities, and so on and so forth. So to some extent, yes, I would definitely say, you know, it will be aligned with our identity.
I see that also because you related it to activism. It's like, okay, fine, it's one thing for you to come and mine this resource, the oil, the diamonds, whatever, but how do you then leave the community after that? And what do they get out of, you know, giving up their farmlands, for example, for mining? Do they get schools? Do they get hospitals? Do they get that kind of compensation? Not just like, here's a check for your 5 acres or whatever it is.
I think, no, I agree with you on that. You know, obviously, if you're going to come and intrude in someone's country, you have to leave some benefits. But I'm talking in terms of like trends moving forward and seeing young Black people, whether they're being educated locally or abroad, you know, utilizing their skills and their passions to come and utilize some of these things that we're now figuring out, like the renewable energy space, and making solutions from it, you know, and creating innovative solutions from it.
Nice, very nice. Okay, Didier, that same question to you. What are there trends that you see regarding African identity?
Yep, there's a very strong trend regarding African identity. The very first, and which I personally love the most, because it's an agenda we have been pushing for a number of years. It is that hard desire of Africans to connect with Africa, to connect with other Africans within the African continent, and to stop being foreigners in the African land, and being even in the industry that moves the people around. So this is something I deal with, talk about on a day-to-day basis.
Completely your area.
Earlier, I mentioned about the conference, which was live from Belize. This desire is not just for the African motherland, even the Caribbeans, okay, feeling the desire. They're now saying, we belong to Africa. Do you know that we were told that how far the Caribbeans is? Like, if you have to travel from Africa, because you need to travel either to Europe first or to North America, then into the Caribbeans. But now we have actually realized that it's only 3 hours and 30 minutes. The first flight took off, oh yes, from Ghana, Mexico, 3 hours, 40 minutes.
Is that from South Africa?
No, that's from West Africa. Okay, direct flight. So they have done this to make us see how far we are, and we can't be one. We cannot connect. It was operated by Nigerian Airpeace, you know, that flew from Lagos straight to sorry, not Mexico, Jamaica, straight into Jamaica, and from Jamaica to Ghana, it's only 3 hours, 4 hours, or 40 minutes of a flight, direct flight. So this shows that the Africans and the Africans in diaspora, African origin, those of African origin, there is a desire burning within them to connect. And then within the the mainland, we thriving, pushing that we don't feel foreigners. I shouldn't be paying for visa to go to Nigeria. Nigeria shouldn't be
come to South Africa.
Right.
You shouldn't be. I was coming there too.
Right.
Just because it's happening doesn't mean it's the right thing. No, it's not.
Right.
And then this is what is blocking the African continent, is blocking the African people to strive in business, in cultures, in festivals. You know, just like the rest of the world, more people have a facility to connect within their own continents than the Africans. Okay, not
be so
because
great,
Africans can't travel.
I just want to add that. So as you guys know, I'm currently in Ghana, and our president here, who happens to be the chairman for the ECOWAS committee, launched the AFCA last year, and that's to encourage intercontinental trading. And I feel like those are some of the things that, you know, people that are in leadership roles need to be intentional about, so that we can see some of the change that, you know, we're discussing here.
Look, we don't want to step into politics or politicians, even though it's some way we still have to. But I strongly feel there is disconnection, okay, between the leadership of Africa and the people of Africa. So that is what is delaying this process. But that there is that trend. There is a trend of Africans to connect, of Africans to visit Africa, or travel easily within the African countries, and we need to encourage us as Africans to keep driving this agenda, because nobody is foreigner in Africa.
People have jokes, and Stella is saying the moment borders are open, Nigerians will leave Nigeria. It's too hard to live there. Guys, we could talk about this for so long. Thank you for being such amazing and such vibrant guests. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's been a great conversation, actually.
That's productive.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the time. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Make sure you follow Tando channel. They have got great content throughout the week. They have a book club, and they've got all kinds of conversations going on from across the continent. So chime in, subscribe, follow, and just jump on with Tando channel. Thank you so much, Didier and Lexy. And have a fantastic night.
Thanks for hosting us.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Take care.